This is Ideator. Ideator is an all things art channel. Its goal is to aid aspiring artists and even hobbyists to improve their skills without the need for art school. Not to be completely down on art school, but I do believe the only tools you need are either available on YouTube, in books, or well within your ability to learn. There's a spectrum of creators who are on their own journey, so it is recommended that you gauge your current ability versus the progress you'll make. I will recommend books and tools that I use to help with those studies. The subjects we tackle will be explained with metaphors and comparisons for ease of understanding. During our journey, we will learn anatomy in a way that seems less daunting and far more comprehensive. Lighting will be examined with real-world demonstrations, techniques, and drills. Subjects like perspective, diminution, and foreshortening will be explored and dissected. Three-dimensional software will be utilized as a deus ex machina to help expand your abilities. Tools and software will be reviewed and recommended to make the journey more fun. And last but not least, ideation will be a must. All is for free from Ideator. But before we leave, we need to address the elephant in the room, AI. Today I need to talk about AI and why I'm even more confident starting an art channel despite its presence. I was shocked to learn that AI art goes back as far as 1960. It was created by the late artist and engineer Harold Cohen. The AI was named Aaron. Aaron was not an acronym, but a means to alphabetically catalog the versions of the program as it evolved. There were upgrades, but Aaron was the name that stuck. Cohen pondered if there was a bridge between the computer and the mind of an artist. The art created by Mr. Cohen varied from computer-generated images, which Cohen colored, to actual images printed via a drawing turtle controlled by the computer. This was a personal research tool Mr. Cohen created and used to create his own art, not to gather resources that were alien to him. The first problem with today's AI art is that it is not art. How, you ask? If at least two different people feed the prompt the same exact information that generated a piece, the output will be identical down to the pixel. This is impossible for two different artists to do, even if they coordinate their efforts to do so. I once had an art instructor who stated, if your vision of a music video is the same as the creator of that video, something is wrong. I never realized how correct she was at the time, but it rings especially true now. These two examples are why the human imagination is so vital to the creative process of creating art. The other problem with today's AI art programs is the theft of the identity that the artist included in the sampling. Theft is a strong word, but it is valid due to the creation of the program's parameters being the creative identity of the artist. The problem is not exclusively a copyright issue because it isn't illegally distributing the work. It is, however, utilizing that artist's identity in any works which may be copyrighted. The mimicking the artist's identity is the unethical part. The mistakes, predilections, interpretations, comprehension, execution, and flair are all part of the artist's creative identity. It may take years for an artist to develop a style or evolve. Those are all personal journeys of that artist. If the AI had taken the prompt to produce a piece of work with only a house style or it's photorealistic, the art community wouldn't be so antagonistic towards its existence. For anyone who has ever had an art class, the reality of that identity becomes clear. When it came time for group critique, you were able to locate your work amongst a sea of other pieces. This was possible not just because of the time spent creating it, but merely because of the familiarity with the components of that artist resulting in the output. It's these markers that differentiate us from other artists. AI's purpose only serves to make it less personal. The personal connection an artist has with creating their work makes it art. It's a form of expression. Here are a couple examples. The cost of the actual painting will always be more expensive than the prints that came from it. That banger of a song you rely on for your workouts? Expression by the artists who poured their heart and soul into it. The value is in the knowledge that real creativity went into creating it. An autographed jersey, a home-cooked meal, the vehicle from your favorite TV show, a weapon with a history. People trust and value acquisitions that have a personal connection, and it's this connection that determines if something is art or not. Take for instance artist Lois Van Barl, better known as Lois. I've collected a few of her books and have consumed her art for years. I don't want to see Lois's art coming from anyone else but Lois herself. Her brand is her name, style, and even her community interaction. Her fans would rather support her versus forgeries from an intangible source. We all learned this lesson from the fallout toward a tweet about the prompt emulating the style of the late great Kim Jong-il shortly after his passing. He was a titan in the art world that meant a lot to everyone who consumed his work. The mapping of the parameters to forged works in his style was widely seen as an offense to his legacy. Now, earlier I mentioned the word brand. Yes, the brand of the artist is tied to their particular style. It is what you recognize even if you don't know the artist's name. AI, when invoked with a detailed and customized prompt, infringes on the artist's brand. Copyrights, trademarks, and patents have been instituted to protect the commercial identity and intellectual property of corporations and individuals for centuries. The brand is what differentiates oneself and the world of commerce from others that may offer similar competitive ideas. One of my most favorite quotes from a movie came from actor Christopher Eccleston in the film Second Coming. In that film, he has a rant regarding the cavalier attitude towards scientific advancement. He states, "If you want the position of God, be prepared to take the responsibility." For AI art, there is no going back for the irresponsible act of creating it. The initial project was open source. Open source is celebrated for its availability and transparency, but availability and transparency is exactly what created this maelstrom in the first place. But now open source data spawned several different AI projects from several different companies who are all racing toward tomorrow with no thought as to who they trample over along the way. The biggest slap in the face are the attempts to appear ethical, as the unfortunate artists in question are charged with having to police any intrusions themselves. Do not forget that the inception of the original program included parameters that gorged on source data throughout the World Wide Web without the consent of its sources. The ability to attain this data was a marketing point for its aspiration. The original open source development of an AI technology with no ceiling is akin to giving a monkey a bomb and observing to see what happens afterward. The AIs have already been trained in the ill-gotten labor of unsuspecting artists, so the battle is more akin to triage to protect their identity. So here we are, facing commercialization of art on every level with little to no recompense to those that have been transgressed against. I'm not trying to stillman AI, but it is quite an achievement. The press releases were both intriguing and amazing, but why do we need it? I have scrutinized the offerings from the different organizations in awe of what I once thought was impossible. I don't intend to use them, but they can perform feats as if they were magical. Art is a form of human expression. Beasts and insects haven't shown aspirations for art, so as far as I know, art is a human expression. AI doesn't have to stop with the arts. 5 years ago, the idea of a computer producing works based upon a prompt would have seemed like bad science fiction. I have seen it compose songs, write blogs, compose music, code programs, emulate voices, produce animations, etc. Each of those fields were human creativity fields. It is puzzling that these fields are a focus because we don't have a shortage of human beings able to do these things. AI art will be made more accessible to everyone, but the people who will get the most out of it are artists, visionaries, and art directors. Those chomping at the bit to add artists to their profile without actually doing the work are in for a wake-up call. There is another potential outcome due to AI being implemented into the creative field: stagnation of the creative process. If you displace creatives from the creative field, the number of available ideas will dwindle. There is a spectrum of creative talent, and I do believe that those with less talent may concede defeat to AI and stop creating. This will mean that the pool for ideas will be so small that derivatives will be as prominent as what we currently have in modern cinema. The attitude toward defending AI art has a spectrum ranging from schadenfreude to toxicity. The toxic attitude I have observed toward the creatives is the most disturbing. Unfair accusations of gatekeeping or gatekeeper are being thrown around by people with no skin in the game. They have no idea how insulting that accusation really is. They've reduced the tangible concerns of the unethical sampling of an identity, potential commercialization by corporations of that identity, and disregard for the hard work and time invested in creating that identity down to gatekeeping. Other insidious trolling has involved the utter disregard toward the feelings of the artists they admire by sharing prompts to further exploit them. Cloning is essentially what AI is doing. I myself remember a rival in elementary school who only produced artwork strictly by copying mine. The grade school politics of popularity meant that the other students would side with him because he was more popular, and it infuriated me. Seeing work directly attributed to you for the first time of which you can attest to every creative would be disturbing. Imposter syndrome is hit a whole new level when the person responsible for the visual identity was not even aware they were involved in its creation. Now, I too think it is unfair that only certain people have the special ability to do things that make us envious of those feats. I would love to be able to sing, play the guitar, throw a touchdown pass, or become a chess grandmaster. Doing any of those things requires years of hard work in order to appear masterful. Time, effort, and dedication is a human price to be prolific. It takes an unreasonable and unrealistic person to think they are entitled to the ability to perform without prior knowledge or the prerequisites of skill required to demonstrate mastery. On the other side, the dismissive attitude some artists have toward the current state of AI's development is disturbing. How can you ridicule AI's early obstacles and limitations of comprehension when every computer program ever has only become more sophisticated and elegant? I'm pretty sure Miles Dyson's early versions of the Terminator weren't very impressive, but eventually you wound up with the T-800 committing genocide. You can admire the strength of your enemy without falling in love with them. Only pointing out the flaws of a thing in the first quarter of a 4-quarter game is short-sighted, especially when there were still 3 quarters to go. It's surprising how nobody seems interested in questioning why AI is needed. The idea of an artificial intelligence requiring human data to produce a result seems counterproductive to the need for an artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence's role should be to perform tasks that humans cannot, or to assist in making those tasks easier. It almost seems as if there was a nearsighted misappropriation of processing power by people too smart for their own good. We have an economy, backed by the Federal Reserve for stability, that fails approximately every 5 to 8 years for one reason or another, but there is no AI tasked with stabilizing it. The same goes for the housing sector, law enforcement, education, and healthcare. These are areas plaguing the human condition that could use additional resources to solve them. It speaks volumes that this isn't of interest for any of those groups pigpiling on the arts, and there are many. I keep asking myself, who asked for AI to do the things that make us human? AI's continued development is a human issue, not just an arts issue. It is an unscheduled, unplanned, and a necessary advancement toward another industrial revolution. By my count, we've had 3 industrial revolutions, and further automation of logistics and production would be the 4th. We currently have AI music, video, voice, communication, and art. These were exclusively human creativity fields. There was no shortage of humans that AI needs to encroach on their domain. We have award ceremonies to celebrate human achievements. We exalt those amongst us as champions based upon their mastery of skills to triumph over obstacles. We have tools that can perform many of these feats, but the spectacle is the performance and human involved, which is why we celebrate them. Syndrome from the 2004 film The Incredibles aimed to lessen the excellence of superheroes by making everyone super. The same goes for AI. If everyone is an artist, then no one is an artist. That is the equivalent of what AI will do to the arts and other occupations if a line isn't drawn. Once again, who asked for AI to do the things that make us human? The hostile attitude toward digital replacement should be widely understood by almost everyone. Anyone choosing not to be apprehensive toward AI's place in society hasn't pondered the potential fallout. When contacting a company to resolve an issue, would you prefer to speak to a customer service representative or an AI? How about speaking with what you were led to believe was human, only to find out that for some strange reason the conversation is slightly off? You'd feel offended and probably unsatisfied with the customer service experience that you weren't worth the time, effort, or money to be addressed by an actual human being. What about automation? Labor in this country took a major hit with advancements in automation. It was first sold as a means of stability that would free up time and make some jobs defunct, as they were either too tedious and unfulfilling for humans to perform or too dangerous to perform consistently. What about deepfake video? What is the purpose of being able to mimic the visual and audible identity of whoever you choose, if not for insidious means? Election year commercials are already disgusting enough without the ability to commit fraud. The threat of automation was viewed as strictly a labor issue, but ChatGPT's aim is far greater due to its ability to impact anything requiring communication. Questions are finally starting to rise as white-collar occupations have become vulnerable. So you see, the threat of AI's full potential is vastly misunderstood by even its biggest proponents. Strangely enough, Elon Musk is alarmed about the future of AI. I love just about everything in the field of technology. I don't enjoy feeling ill about a sector of technology, especially since I have invested so much time and money in digital tools to create art. I even look forward to new versions of those tools to satisfy all of my creative needs. The fervor around this technological advancement is a bit strange when you think about it. We have calculators and computers, but we still have accountants. What is it about AI that makes it different from the other technological advancements? After all, once an idea becomes reality, it's impossible to put it back in the box. However, that box is Pandora's, and I liken to AI to be the equivalent of a weapon the world would be better off without. There are some amongst us that consider AI a tool and that the fervor around it is either hyperbole or overstated. Calling AI a tool is a misclassification of what it actually is. AI isn't a tool, it's a device. The definition of device is a thing made for a particular purpose, an invention or contrivance, especially a mechanical or electrical one. In the case of today's AI, a device designed to plagiarize, circumvent, and replace the very sources it farms for information. My intention is not to shame people from using AI, just educate them as to why there is so much friction from those who have a dog in the fight to be alarmed. I do understand the plight of a writer who doesn't have the resources to hire or even find an artist to translate their vision. To be locked out of the further development of an idea because you don't possess the ability has got to be frustrating. I truly don't know where we are going in a world where AI runs rampant across so many fields, but I hope it is a more humanitarian direction.